I always believed blood was thicker than water. For 12 years, I thought my marriage to Amanda was built on an unshakable foundation of love and family support. I was wrong about everything. The divorce papers were just the beginning. What blindsided me was watching my entire family, the people who raised me, choose her over their own son. It gets worse. Before I start this story, let me know where you are watching from in the comments. Hit subscribe if you want to hear how I finally stood up for myself and discovered what real family means. Growing up in Boston, family meant everything to me. As a 35-year-old financial consultant now, I still remember Sunday dinners at my parents' suburban home, where my father would raise his glass and toast to family loyalty above all else. Dad worked as an engineer, Mom taught elementary school, and together they created a home where traditions and togetherness were sacred. My older brother Thomas followed my father into engineering, while my younger sister Grace became a pediatric nurse. We were the picture-perfect American family, complete with annual traditions that no one dared miss: summer trips to our lake house in New Hampshire, elaborate Christmas gift exchanges, and most importantly, Thanksgiving dinner, where every family member was expected to share what they were grateful for. I met Amanda during my junior year at Boston University. She was studying communications with fiery red hair and a laugh that turned heads across the cafeteria. Unlike my close family unit, Amanda came from a more fragmented background. Her parents divorced when she was 12, and she split time between households that never quite felt like home. Perhaps that was why she latched onto my family so quickly. Our first Christmas together, I brought her home nervous about how my traditional parents would receive her. I should have known better. Amanda charmed them instantly, bringing my mother a homemade cranberry bread and discussing classic literature with my father. By dessert, Mom was already asking about her ring size, not so subtly. We married 3 years later in a ceremony where my father gave a toast that still haunts me today. Looking back, his words were prophetic. He said, "Amanda, we are not just gaining a daughter-in-law today. We are gaining the daughter we always wanted." My sister Grace shifted uncomfortably in her bridesmaid dress, but everyone else raised their glasses in agreement. Amanda beamed, tears in her eyes, as she called my parents Mom and Dad for the first time officially. I remember feeling proud that my family had embraced her so completely. What a fool I was. The birth of our son Michael brought my parents rushing to the hospital with more gifts than could fit in our modest apartment. My mother stayed with us for 2 weeks, teaching Amanda everything about childcare while I returned to work. When our daughter Lily arrived 3 years later, the pattern repeated, except this time, Amanda and my mother had developed their own shorthand and inside jokes that sometimes left me feeling like an outsider in my own home. Still, I brushed it off as gratitude that our children had such involved grandparents. As the years passed, I noticed subtle shifts in family dynamics. My mother began calling Amanda directly about family plans instead of me. Dad would ask her opinion about investment opportunities, despite my career in finance. At Christmas, Amanda coordinated the gift exchanges and family photos. At Thanksgiving, she started taking over the cooking from my mother, who happily surrendered her kitchen with a pride she never showed when I had offered to help in my younger years. During our annual summer trips to the lake house, Amanda somehow became the decision-maker about which activities we would do each day. When I tried mentioning this to her one night, after everyone had gone home from a family barbecue where my father had repeatedly deferred to Amanda about how the meat should be cooked, she laughed it off. "Wesley, you are being ridiculous. Your family loves me." "Is that so terrible? Are you actually jealous that your wife and your family get along?" Most men would be thrilled. The conversation ended there with me feeling petty and insecure, but the knot in my stomach continued to grow. The first serious cracks in our marriage appeared around our 10th anniversary. Amanda had been promoted at her public relations firm and was working longer hours. I supported her career advancement, taking on more childcare responsibilities and household duties. But even as I stepped up at home, she seemed to step away emotionally. Our conversations became functional rather than intimate. She started guarding her phone, changing passwords, and taking calls in another room. We argued more frequently, especially about parenting. Amanda thought I was too soft with the kids, while I felt she was becoming increasingly critical and distant with them. Michael, sensitive and artistic like me, seemed to withdraw when his mother was home. Lily became anxious about getting perfect grades to avoid her mother disappointment. When I suggested family counseling, Amanda dismissed the idea as unnecessary and blamed my parenting for any problems. Then came the night I discovered the truth. Amanda had forgotten her tablet at home while rushing to what she claimed was an emergency client meeting. A notification popped up, a message from someone named Daniel. Been thinking about you all day. Last night was amazing. Cannot wait to see you again tonight. My entire body went cold. I opened her emails, finding hundreds of exchanges with her coworker Daniel spanning the last 8 months. The emotional intimacy in those messages was worse than any physical betrayal. Photos of weekend trips, when she said she was at conferences, plans for their future, and worst of all, complaints about me and our marriage. When confronted, Amanda initially denied everything, then seeing the evidence, she switched to anger. This would not have happened if you had been more attentive, more ambitious, more exciting. She claimed I had become boring and predictable, that she had outgrown me, that Daniel understood her in ways I never could. When I asked about our children, her answer chilled me. They will adjust. Children are resilient. I suggested marriage counseling as a last resort. For 6 weeks, we sat in a therapist office, where Amanda participated just enough to create the appearance of trying. At home, she continued texting Daniel, now openly. When I finally realized she was simply going through the motions while waiting for me to accept the inevitable, I filed for divorce. Even then, I naively believed my family would be my sanctuary through the storm ahead. I could not have been more wrong. When I told my parents about the divorce and Amanda's infidelity, their reaction left me speechless. We sat in their living room, the same place where I had proudly introduced Amanda years before. Mom listened silently, then sighed deeply. Wesley, these things are never one-sided. What did you do that pushed her away? I started to explain about Daniel, the lies, the text messages, but my father interrupted. Marriage requires compromise, son. Amanda has always been accommodating to this family. Perhaps you took her for granted. I left their house in a daze, unable to comprehend their response. Later that week, my brother Thomas called. He suggested I find a good therapist to work through my anger issues. When I pointed out that I was not the one who had cheated, he responded with what would become my family mantra: we are not taking sides. We just want what is best for the children. My sister Grace was the only one who showed a glimmer of understanding, but even she cautioned me against speaking negatively about Amanda to anyone, especially the kids. Amanda moved into an apartment 10 minutes from our family home. We agreed to split custody, alternating weeks with the children. I found my own place, a 2-bedroom apartment that I tried to make welcoming for Michael and Lily. During my first week with them, I noticed Michael seemed anxious about something. When I finally got him to open up, he revealed that Grandma and Grandpa had taken them to the zoo with Mommy the day before. I was confused. We had agreed that during my custody weeks, the children would be with me or approved caregivers. When I called my parents to establish this boundary, my mother was indignant. The children need consistency, Wesley. Amanda has been part of their lives since birth. Just because you two could not make things work does not mean we should disrupt our relationship with her. She is the mother of our grandchildren. When I suggested that taking the children without my knowledge during my custody time was inappropriate, my father took the phone. Do not make this difficult, son. Amanda is being very generous with access to the kids. Do not give her reason to reconsider. The hits kept coming. I was removed from the family group text, where holiday plans and weekly dinners were coordinated. When I called my sister to ask about it, she admitted Amanda was still included, and my parents thought it would be less awkward this way. Less awkward? For whom, I wondered. When my son had a soccer game, I arrived to find my entire family sitting with Amanda, saving her snacks and taking photos together. They waved awkwardly at me across the field, but no one came over. I sat alone, a stranger, at my own child custody exchange. The breaking point came with Thanksgiving approaching. My mother called to discuss the holiday plans. Wesley, we will be having dinner at 3. Amanda and the children will be here, of course. You are welcome to join us. Before I could respond, she continued with the words that would ultimately change everything. You can come as long as you keep your mouth shut and do not pull one of your pathetic scenes. Remember, this is about the children, not you." The rage and hurt that surged through me in that moment was unlike anything I had ever experienced. Is that what my emotional responses to being betrayed had been reduced to pathetic scenes? I thought about all the family holidays where I had been the dutiful son, the loving brother, the committed father. I thought about how quickly 12 years of marriage and 35 years of being their son had been overshadowed by their inexplicable loyalty to Amanda. "Do not worry," I finally said, my voice deadly calm. "I would rather eat with strangers than sit with traitors." I hung up before she could respond. Within an hour, both my siblings were calling and texting. My brother accused me of being childish and selfish. My sister pleaded with me to apologize to Mom and just make it work for the kids' sake. No one, not one person in my family, acknowledged the fundamental wrongness of what was happening. The 5 days leading up to Thanksgiving were the darkest of my life. My apartment felt cavernous without my children. I tried calling them each night, but the conversations were strained, obviously supervised by whoever was in the room with them. I could hear my mother prompting responses in the background. When I asked Michael what he was looking forward to at Thanksgiving, there was a long pause before he robotically answered, "Being with family." The painful irony was not lost on me. By Thanksgiving morning, I had hit rock bottom. I sat alone with a cup of coffee, staring at the wall, wondering how my life had imploded so spectacularly. Then my phone rang. It was Jackson, my college roommate, whom I had not spoken to in years. "Hey, Wes," he said casually, as if we had talked yesterday. "I heard through the grapevine you are going through a rough patch. Got plans for Turkey Day." That evening, instead of sitting alone in my apartment, I found myself at Jackson's home, surrounded by people who had no expectations of me. His wife, Kate, welcomed me with genuine warmth. Their 3 children immediately recruited Michael and Lily for a board game tournament whenever they would arrive for my custody time. But it was Jackson, brother-in-law Ryan, who would ultimately change the trajectory of my life. After dinner, Ryan and I stepped outside onto the back deck. He handed me a beer and got straight to the point. "Jackson told me a bit about your situation. Listen, I do not usually talk shop at family gatherings, but this is important. I am a family law attorney, and what you are describing sounds like parental alienation." He explained, the term describes a situation where one parent systematically undermines the other parent relationship with their child, often with the help of extended family. The clinical language gave shape to the fog of pain I had been living in. Ryan laid out the concerning patterns, my family welcoming Amanda during my custody time, without my knowledge, the supervised phone calls, the united front against me at public events. "I am not saying you need to go nuclear here," he said, "but you do need to establish clear boundaries. This is not just about your relationship with your ex-wife. This is about your children's right to have an untainted relationship with both parents." For the first time in months, I felt a clarity of purpose replacing my hurt and confusion. Over the next few days, I consulted with a therapist Ryan recommended who specialized in divorce recovery. Dr. Epps. Lawrence helped me see how my people-pleasing tendencies and desire for family harmony had allowed others to repeatedly cross my boundaries. She helped me draft scripts for conversations with my parents, siblings, and Amanda that were firm but not antagonistic. My first attempt at establishing boundaries was a direct conversation with Amanda. I met her at a neutral coffee shop and calmly explained that our custody agreement needed to be strictly followed, including no unauthorized visits with my family during my time with the kids. Her response was telling. "Your family prefers my company, Wesley. They chose me because they know I am better for the kids. Always have been." The smirk that accompanied her words confirmed what I had suspected. There was an element of vindictive pleasure in her continued relationship with my family. That conversation was the final piece I needed. With Ryan legal advice and Dr. Lauren's emotional support, I crafted a comprehensive email. I worked on it for 3 days, carefully documenting every incident with dates and details. I included screenshots of Amanda messages to Daniel that revealed her character. I outlined the pattern of family interference in our custody arrangement. I stated my intention to file for primary custody based on the ongoing parental alienation. And finally, I announced I would be hosting Christmas for Michael and Lily at my apartment, no negotiation. I sent the email to every member of my extended family, grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, everyone, people who had been kept in the dark about the real dynamics at play. I did not send it to be vindictive. I sent it because the truth needed light. I sent it because my children deserved better than a family united in dysfunction. I sent it because I finally understood that real love does not ask you to tolerate betrayal. 5 minutes after hitting send, my phone exploded with notifications. I turned it off and went for a long walk. When I returned 3 hours later, there were 67 missed calls and over 100 text messages. The one that broke my heart was from Michael. Dad, he had written, "Everything is falling apart. Mom is crying. Grandma is crying. Everyone is yelling. Please help us fix it." I called him immediately. Through his tears, he asked why everyone was so upset. I explained as gently as I could that sometimes things need to break apart before they can be fixed properly. Like when his arm broke last year and the doctor had to set it correctly so it would heal stronger. I promised him that even though things seemed scary right now, I was working to make sure our family would be healthier in the long run. Before hanging up, I told him I loved him unconditionally, something I realized he needed to hear. Amanda was next, her voicemail messages escalating from anger to threats of legal action for defamation. I did not respond. My father showed up at my door that evening, more enraged than I had ever seen him. "How dare you air family laundry like this? Do you have any idea what you have done?" For the first time in my life, I stood my ground with him. "Yes, Dad, I know exactly what I have done. I have told the truth. The question is, why does that make you so angry?" The aftermath of my email was nothing short of nuclear. The family that had presented such a united front began to fracture along unexpected lines. My Uncle Robert, my father's older brother, called me the next day. "I have suspected something was off for a while," he admitted. "The way they excluded you at family gatherings was not right." Several cousins reached out with similar messages, expressing shock at what had been happening behind the scenes. Most surprising was my sister Grace, who showed up at my apartment in tears. "I have been feeling so guilty," she confessed. "Mom made it clear we were all supposed to support Amanda, that you were being difficult and unreasonable. I knew it felt wrong, but I was scared to go against them." Her honesty was the first step toward rebuilding at least one family relationship on healthier terms. Not everyone was supportive, of course. My brother Thomas doubled down, accusing me of emotional instability. Several older relatives sided with my parents out of a misguided belief that family unity should be preserved at all costs, even if that unity was built on lies and manipulation. But the monolith of family opposition had cracked, and that was enough for me to stand firm. Amanda, realizing her position was weakening, attempted a new strategy. She filed an emergency motion, claiming I was unstable and turning the children against her. It backfired spectacularly. In court, her attorney presented my email as evidence of my vindictive nature. The judge, after reviewing the full document, including the documented pattern of parental alienation and unauthorized family visits during my custody time, was not impressed. Her use of screenshots showing Amanda affair hardly painted me as the unstable party. The custody evaluation that followed was thorough and ultimately favorable to me. The evaluator noted the concerning pattern of extended family interference and recommended I receive primary physical custody, with Amanda having every other weekend and one weeknight dinner. The judge agreed, adding the stipulation that my parents could only see the children during my custody time, with my explicit permission, a boundary they had repeatedly refused to respect. The day I sat Michael and Lily down to explain the new arrangements was one of the hardest of my life. "Loyalty is important," I told them. "But blind loyalty that asks you to accept being hurt is not healthy." I promised them I would never speak negatively about their mother or grandparents, but I also promised I would always tell them the truth in age-appropriate ways. I made it clear that while adults might have complicated feelings about each other, nothing complicated my love for them. It was unconditional and unshakable. Over the following months, I focused on creating a stable, loving home environment. I found a larger apartment closer to their school. I established new traditions: Sunday morning pancakes, Friday movie nights, monthly adventure days, where they chose an activity for us to try together. Slowly, the anxiety that had become Michael's default expression began to fade. Lily stopped seeking perfect grades and started enjoying learning again. My father was the first of my immediate family to reach out in a meaningful way. He came alone to my apartment, looking older than I remembered. We sat in uncomfortable silence before he finally spoke. "I favored Amanda," he admitted. "I think because she reminded me of your mother when we first met. Somewhere along the way, I forgot my first job was to support my son. It was not a complete apology, but it was a beginning. We agreed to weekly coffee meetings, just the two of us, to slowly rebuild what had been broken. My mother took longer. Her identity had become so intertwined with being Amanda ally that my assertion of boundaries felt like personal rejection to her. She sent cards to the children, but made no attempt to contact me directly for nearly 6 months. When she finally called, her first question was telling. "Is there any way things can go back to how they were?" I had to explain gently but firmly that, no, we would never return to that dynamic, but we could build something new if she was willing. That first Christmas in my apartment was a turning point. I invited Jackson family, my sister Grace, and to everyone's surprise, my father. My mother declined to attend, still unable to accept the new reality. Amanda had the children for Christmas Eve, as per our agreement, but they came to me Christmas morning excited about the new traditions we were creating. My father brought his famous hot chocolate, and Grace organized a gingerbread house competition that had everyone laughing. Looking back now, I can see that what happened with my family and Amanda was never really about love. It was about comfort, familiarity, and the path of least resistance. Real love requires honesty, boundaries, and sometimes the courage to stand alone against the people you thought would always stand with you. The betrayal still stings when I let myself dwell on it. But mostly I focus on the unexpected gifts that came from that painful time, stronger relationships with my children, authentic friendships, and the knowledge that I am capable of breaking generational patterns of dysfunction. My relationship with my family continues to evolve. Some days are better than others. My mother still struggles with the boundaries I have set, but she is trying. My father and I have found new common ground. My sister and I are closer than ever. My brother remains distant, but I leave the door open for when he is ready. As for Amanda, we maintain a civil co-parenting relationship focused solely on the children's welfare. The intimacy and trust are gone, but in their place is something more sustainable: mutual respect from a healthy distance. I share this story not to vilify anyone, but to remind anyone going through something similar that you are not crazy for expecting loyalty from family. Sometimes the hardest battles are the ones that matter most. Sometimes standing alone is the only way to discover who will eventually stand with you. And sometimes losing what you thought was an unbreakable family bond makes room for building something even stronger on a foundation of truth and genuine love. Have you ever had to stand up to your family for what was right, even when it felt impossible? Share your story in the comments below. If this resonated with you, please hit the like button and subscribe to hear more stories about reclaiming your power in difficult relationships. And remember, true family is defined by how people treat you, not just by shared blood. Thank you for listening, and until next time, keep drawing your boundaries with courage and compassion.